Oh, yeah. So then I had this question, actually. So, yeah, now we've got the sermon. So this is what we're talking about, priesthood of believers and spiritual gifts as we work through our statement of faith. I've probably written it up there and I'll get to it soon. But I asked you this question, what was the first role that you served in church? And yes, Joe, for those of us who have been in church a really long time, it's like, oh, that's hard to remember. Anything that stood out, anything you wanted to share, or you want to share about the person next to you, the first role they did, or the first role you did, anything? Be brave. Be brave, it's not hard. Yes, Ray.
I mowed lawns with my dad.
You mowed lawns with your dad. It's still mowing lawns. Praise Jesus. Carolyn. You cleaned the Anglican church, the little Anglican church. Yep. Taste testing the wafers. Quality control, it's important. Awesome. How old, by the way? Serving with your mum? Serving with your dad? 8? Yeah, Alison.
I started teaching Sunday school in this church when I was about 12.
Alison was teaching Sunday school at 12 and still doing it. Maureen. Yeah, the washing. Yeah, awesome. Yes. You carried the cross around Whangamata. Okay, so not for Jesus, but for the Baptist Church at Whangamata. Awesome. Dave. Yeah. Yeah.
I played guitar in our Methodist church, but I had to play it in the corner right up where someone could see.
So you played the guitar at the Methodist church where people couldn't see you, because, yeah. Did you have long hair or, no? Okay. They just weren't quite ready for guitar. Yeah. Praise Jesus. Oh, piano new. Guitar, scary. Yeah. One more, time for one more. Ruth. You played guitar in home group? Yep. Just as a new Christian. Oh, you play the guitar to songs you didn't know?
Yeah, so they had to teach me the songs a couple of days before. So first week, one song.
Next week, 2 songs. Yeah, building up your repertoire as you go along. That's awesome. That's how it should be. All right, okay. Okay. So, if I cut all that out of the video, I'm going to pause. And so now I can do that. Anyway, now I've been silly again. So the very first role I had in church, serving in church, was overhead projectionist. And I was in Form 2 at intermediate, so that's year 8 for younger people. And our Elam church actually met in the Scout Hall, which is just being demolished, about 1 kilometre along Grange Road from here, so not very far. And our church had a big box, like easily this big, probably a bit bigger, filled with acetates with the words on them. And you had to put them on the OHP thingy to project them onto the wall, focused and not upside down or back to front, so that the congregation could sing along. And on a Sunday morning, I would turn up to church, and Howard would have 7 acetates out. So he'd have 7 songs out. And he'd say, I'll start with this one. I'll probably do these 2. I might do some of these ones. And in the end, we would do like 10 songs, 4 of which he had given me, and 6 of which I'd have to fish out of the box. And my goal was to have the song up so people could see it before he got to the end of the first line. Okay, so that was my goal that I had set myself. And the songs were sorted alphabetically by first line, so that was really good as long as he started singing the song at the beginning. If he started singing the song at the chorus, it's kind of like, what's the first line of that song? And then trying to find it. So at that time, I wanted to be the best overhead projectionist at our church. And yes, for my children out there, I did turn it into a bit of a competition. Yeah. Even though I always tell my children now it's not a competition. I didn't really love the role. You know, it wasn't my favorite ever role. It wasn't my, oh yes. But I really enjoyed being able to contribute to the church. And in that role, serving that role the way I did and the way that we had to do it, I learned a lot about another role that I would come to love, which was leading congregational worship. But that's another story. We're now into week 5 of our review of our statement of faith in our series, What's the Big Idea? And so far, we've covered the Bible, God, salvation, and baptism. And today, we're looking at the priesthood of all believers and spiritual gifts. And I know that's a whole lot to cover, but we ran out of weeks to do these one at a time. And so, in our statement of faith, it says, the church affirms the following statement of faith. H, the validity of all the spiritual gifts. And I, the priesthood of all believers. And I want to look at the concept of the priesthood of all believers first, in part at least because I think it's appropriate lens to look at the other statement, the validity of all the spiritual gifts, and also because the priesthood of all believers is Protestant doctrine, but sort of Baptists interpret it slightly differently, and also because I want to finish with spiritual gifts. And I was talking to Mel earlier, so I've got a little sermon prop illustration thing here, a little gift box, and I said to Mel, I can't believe it, this is the second week in a row I've got a sermon prop illustration. I had a pastor who loved doing these and did them every week. I'm not really like that, so it's kind of weird for me to have 2 in a row, but there we go. We've got a little gift down there, and you can wonder what it is, and we'll find out together later. So priesthood of all believers. So priests are a thoroughly Old Testament concept. There are lots of priests in the Old Testament. There are the priests of Egypt, the priests of Midian, Melchizedek, the priest that Abraham saw in the book of Genesis. There are Philistine priests, and of course, the Israelite priests, descended from the tribe of Levi. It's probably little surprise that the word priest or priests appears more times in the book of Leviticus than it does in the whole of the New Testament. You know, Leviticus is basically a rule book for priests. And so today we're going to read, no, we're not going to read Leviticus. A priest was someone to go between the ordinary people and God. It was someone who knew the right procedures and knew the right words to intercede for the people, to cover over their sin and guilt, and perhaps sometimes to secure God's favor, and sometimes to discern God's will. But because people kept on sinning, and they kept renewing their guilt, and the priests had to offer sacrifices over and over and over again. There were lots of rules that the priests had to follow, and a whole lot of rules that the nation of Israel was meant to follow to allow the priests to do their job. Through the Old Testament story, both sides had times when they didn't do the job all that well. They were human after all. At its best, it was a fragile system that enabled the people to both understand and maintain a right relationship with God. At its worst, that fragile system broke down. In the New Testament, the term priest is a slightly different kettle of fish. In the Gospels and the book of Acts, any mention of priests refer to the Jewish priests working from positions of power related to the temple system in Jerusalem. And there are about 140 mentions of priests in the Gospels and the book of Acts, and they are largely portrayed negatively. There are some times they're referenced in a kind of neutral light, and once or twice, if you sort of squint your eyes just right, there's a few times where the priests are actually portrayed in a positive light, but mostly not so good. The book of Hebrews uses the term priest 44 times. And it's a very complex argument about how Jesus has become our eternal great high priest. and that the old priestly system has been done away with. And if I had sort of 6 weeks to cover the priesthood of all believers, we'd spend a lot of time in Hebrews, not in the other places. But we don't have that, so we're not going to. But it's really important for our understanding, so I just want to mention that. In the rest of the New Testament, the word priest is used to refer to followers of Jesus. That's us 5 times. Twice in 1 Peter and 3 times in the book of Revelation. And the most famous of these is 1 Peter 2:9. So we are going to read that. Peter says, "But you aren't like that, for you are a chosen people. You are royal priests. You are royal priests, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of the darkness into his wonderful light." So a number of other translations, lots of other translations, like the NIV, describe us as a priesthood. So this priesthood of all believers, this priesthood, this one. It says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." And so while this verse is perhaps the strongest link to the term priesthood of all believers, and our understanding of it even, I think the passages in the New Testament that refer to followers of Christ as priests are alluding to a passage from the book of Exodus. When the nation of Israel first gets to Sinai, so they just not long after we finished our series on Moses, they get to the mountain of God, Sinai. God told Moses to tell the people this in Exodus 19:5-6. "Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the peoples on earth. For all the earth belongs to me, and you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation." So this was before God had given the law, and before the Aaronic priesthood, not ironic, but Aaronic, so Aaron and all his descendants, before that priesthood was established. And look, I don't have time to go all Chuck Missler or Chuck Norris on this one, but there are significant textual similarities here between these two passages. And so for me, the inference in both 1 Peter and Revelation is that we, as the followers of Christ, have become part of God's chosen people, a kingdom of priests, in the same manner as the nation of Israel. And so most churches would agree with something along those lines, but that is not all that we mean as Baptists when we say we affirm the priesthood of all believers. So just as the Israelites were a kingdom of priests and yet had a separate priesthood, some churches affirm the concept of a priesthood of all believers and yet still have priests to go between the people and God. When the first Baptists were rebelling against the institutional church, there was a priestly system in place. There were a whole lot of things that only the priests could do, and a whole lot of things that only the bishops could do who were above the priests. And Baptists came along and said, anyone can do those things. With Jesus as our high priest, we don't need anyone else to mediate between us and God. Now, at the time of the Reformation, the structures of the church and the state looked very similar. And in one word, it was pointy. Archbishop, bishops, priests, deacons, laity. Baptists and their congregationally minded friends were like, everyone can read the Bible, everyone can pray, everyone can hear Christ speak to them, everyone can share what Christ has revealed to them, and everyone can participate in making decisions. For Baptists, the priesthood of all believers, that means that we have only one priest, Jesus, and therefore we don't need any other priests to intercede for us or do any other job for us, for that matter. We can do all those things. Every member ministers. And so that's pretty much all I'm going to do on the priesthood of all believers. There's so much in there, but we're going to move on. I think it's a good time to move to our other statement. We affirm the validity of all the spiritual gifts. Now, there are a number of places in the New Testament that talk about spiritual gifts. But one of the most significant is related to Paul's extended argument in 1 Corinthians chapters 12 to 14. In 1 Corinthians 12:7, Paul says, a spiritual gift is given to each of us so we can help each other. And this is probably the most important thing that Paul says to the Corinthians in this section. And he spends the next 3 chapters explaining it. Some really famous passages throughout this section. And some of you probably had them read at your wedding if you got married in a church. But you see, the Corinthians had turned it all into a competition about showing off their gift to gain status and power. And Paul says they've got it all wrong. Gifts are given by God to each of us to build others up. They aren't gifts for us. They are for others. It's not about us at all beyond our own discipleship. So I'm going to read a few more passages out of 1 Corinthians. It is the one and only Spirit who distributes all these gifts. He alone decides which gift each person should have. So you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts. There's a whole sermon in there. We're just going to keep pushing. Let love be your highest goal. But you should also desire the special abilities the Spirit gives, especially the ability to prophesy. One who prophesies strengthens others, encourages them, and comforts them. A person who speaks in tongues is strengthened personally, but one who speaks a word of prophecy strengthens the entire church. When you meet together, one will sing, another will teach, another will tell some special revelation God has given. One will speak in tongues, and another will interpret what is said. But everything that is done must strengthen all of you. You can tell I've skipped most of what Paul says. But through the course of Paul's argument, he lists a lot of gifts. A lot. He talks about wisdom, knowledge, faith, healing, miracles, prophecy, discernment, speaking in other languages, interpretation, apostleship, teaching, help, leadership, understanding secret plans, generosity, and martyrdom. All of these make at least one appearance. Many of them are repeated a number of times. You heard me read the word prophecy at least 3 times already. There's always a question whether the list of gifts is exhaustive or representative. If it's exhaustive, you can only choose from those that are listed. And I confess that I grew up being taught that this list was exhaustive. That was it. But if it's representative, you can have any of those listed, plus any other that you can think of. And my view of God, my understanding, is that God is way too creative and way too loving to only have 9 gifts that we could choose from. Imagine going to Kmart to buy a gift for someone, and there were 9 things at Kmart. 9 things you could choose from. God has created each of us uniquely and has gifted each of us accordingly. Every member ministers because every member is uniquely gifted. Every good thing we have is a gift from God. Every gift we have, every good thing. You know, everybody's good at something, and maybe you are good at cooking crumble, though very likely something else as well. Did we have our cooking crumble slide or not? It was like, that was my joke, and we missed it. Anyway, so that's Lorraine Bowen. She says she's good at cooking crumble. Anyway, whatever we are good at, it is a result of the gifts that God has given us. James 1:17 says, whatever is good and perfect is a gift coming down to us from God, our Father who created all the lights in the heavens. He never changes or casts a shifting shadow. Everything that's good. And I won't get into perfect, but good and perfect, these are big words that James is using. But all the goodness in life, everything good is a gift from God. And so then the question is, what gifts are spiritual? You know, every gift that is given by God and that the Spirit breathes through to bless others is a spiritual gift. Everything that we do to build someone else up is a spiritual gift. And I know that could sound like heresy. Some people will disagree with me, and that's fine. But I want to look at what Paul says. Paul says we should desire the gift of prophecy, and he's specifically talking about in the context of speaking in tongues. And I'm not going to get into the argument he's wrestling with there. But look at what Paul says prophecy does. He says it strengthens others, it encourages others, and it comforts others. Any gift that does any of these things is a spiritual gift because the Spirit of God is at work through it to bring strength, encouragement, and comfort. And how it works is just amazing. So when we pop round with lasagna, we don't just build someone up physically through a hearty meal. We do that, but not just that. It's not just a gift of food. It's a gift of connection. You were thinking of me. And it's also a gift of time. Now I don't have to cook a meal tonight. It's a gift of understanding. I know that you see me and the difficulty that I'm facing. It's the gift of physically expressing God's love. God loves me. God sees me. God knows me. It doesn't just build me up as I eat it. It builds my relationship with you, which is just as important. Now, I'll admit, some spiritual gifts are a bit more natural, like having a meal or doing some work in the yard, mowing the lawns. And other gifts are a bit more supernatural, like miracles and healing. Yep. And, knowledge might be a bit more natural, and wisdom might be a little bit more spiritual. But the Spirit is at work in all of them. Every member ministers to one another because every member is uniquely gifted. Again, back to Paul, he says, so God has put the body together such that extra honor and care are given to those parts that have less dignity. This makes for harmony among the members so that all the members care for each other. If one part suffers, the other parts suffer with it. If one part is honored, all the parts are glad. There are different kinds of service, but we serve the same Lord. Nobody can do what you do the way that you do it. The Spirit of God has uniquely created you to serve and minister in ways that only you can. Could somebody else do it? Yeah, look, nearly always. Would they do it differently to the way that you might do it? Yes, definitely. But if we don't use the gifts God has given us to strengthen others, we will all be poorer for it. There is a richness to our fellowship, to our sense of community, to our sense of family, when we all use the gifts the Spirit of God has so generously given each of us to build one another up. And that, my friends, is what the priesthood of believers is all about. Every member ministers to one another because every member is uniquely gifted by the Spirit of God. And so this morning, I asked about the area in which you first served the church, because that was a space in which you were using a spiritual gift, even when you were 7 or 8 or 10 or 12. And today I want to acknowledge all those who serve in some area in the church, and this is going to get a little bit messy, and I'm definitely going to need some help here, because without your help, I'm going to miss people. So on your behalf, I'm going to open this gift, amazingly wrapped. Whose love language is gifts? Anybody here, their love language is gifts? No, nobody wants to. Oh, there's somebody who's like, oh, yeah. Whose love language is chocolate? Oh, there's a few more people. Okay. So yeah, I want to acknowledge those who serve in some area of the church. And look, if you're allergic to something, you can swap with someone else, or you can ask about whether we have avocados. Okay, so all right. I'll come back to those. So I want to start with those who are serving right now. And so Mike's back there on the sound desk. Mason's up there. Oh, yeah, I'll try again. Oh, yeah. And Sophia's somewhere over there. And so who else serves on the data and video like that? So we've got Gareth over here. Oh, yeah. Oh, Tim's there. Yeah, Phil's there. Matthew's there. Yeah, Sean's over there. Oh, watch out, David. Did you get it? Yeah. Yeah, Gareth, Sean, Tim. Sarah Carter, she's not here. Do you want to look after Sarah's one for her? Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And oh, Dave, did you get one? No. Well, raise your hand. Oh, and the sound. The data sound. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's okay. All right. And who's serving out in our children's ministry team? Who knows who's out there today? Jan, Sarah. Okay, let's do it this way. Who serves on our children's ministry team who are still here? Oh, yeah, there, and there, and oh, Jackie, watch out. Anybody else? Okay, and okay, so upstairs in Wonder Kids, I think we've got like Rebecca and Shell and Maggie and Amber and Elijah all serve up there. And downstairs in Jigsaw, we've got Jan and Katrina and Alison and Margie and Dave. And Lynn, you didn't put your hand up. Oh, sorry, yeah, health and safety. And I've got Rachel and Sarah. Okay, and so, all right. And what about up in Illuminate? So we've got Mel and Sue and Maggie and William. Are you on that? You're going to claim it, aren't you? Yeah, man. Can I get you to go? Yeah, go, you good thing. Give some chocolate out to okay. Okay, and then who serves on the worship? The roster? Oh, Haley, yeah, Lynn. Oh, Luke, yes, you get, yeah, Luke, Vicky. Oh, I'm dropping. Who? Oh, Matthew. Yeah, and you can take one for your dad as well. Oh, Dave, Joe, Campbell, of course. Thanks. Anybody else? Who else have I missed? Anyone? No. Okay. Oh, me? Yeah, I'll get mine later. Okay. Where? Oh, what about our youth leaders? No, did I miss you, Vicky? Did you get one? She's got one. No, she got one. So our youth group. So we've got Jono. He's just run off. So and Elsa, can you give that one to Rachel? But okay. So where's Jono there? Okay, and where's Margie? She's over there as well. And Brett as well. Don't forget Brett, and obviously Mel. Okay. What else? Oh, the morning tea. Who serves on morning tea roster? The Drinnans. Can you save one for the Drinnans? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Ron. Oh, Tim and Jocelyn do. Yes. The Glovers do. Yeah. Who else? Pat down the back. All right. Who else is on morning tea? Who have I missed? John, you're on morning tea. You're sitting there very quietly. Vicky, you're on a morning tea roster, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. Claire's on the worship roster, and I didn't mention her, but you'll take hers, will you? You're okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh yes. Sue's on the morning tea roster, so I'll make sure she gets that one. Okay. Who's on the welcome team? Morning tea have got theirs. Awesome. You're on the welcome team. You're on the welcome team. You must be on the. You're on the welcome team. Yeah. Okay. I'm dropping them. Roger and Ann, you're way over there. Ray. Thank you. Anybody else on the welcome? Yes, Robert, you're on the welcome team. Drinnans again. Baldwins, are you on the welcome team? No, you're not. Okay. All right. Yep. Did you get one for the welcome team? You did? Okay, sorry, I'm losing my mind. Okay, who helps out running our pre-meeting? Robert, you were on the pre-meeting this morning. Lynn, you can give one to David because he really does help out there. Who else? Oh, you can give one. Your wife does. Margaret, you're on the pre. Who else helps? Oh, you do. Who else helps run the Sunday morning prayer meeting? Oh, yeah, you're looking embarrassed now. Yeah, who are you pointing at over here? Oh, Margaret, yeah. Oh, and Pat, you help. Okay, all right. Look, I'd have to mention that Pauline isn't here today, but every single month she puts on flowers for our communion, and that is just amazing. And actually every month, Kevin and Carolyn, they also help prepare the communion every single month. Who helps out with our library? I know Marcia. Who else? Yeah, I know Marcia's not here. Oh, you're Dobbing and Julian, are you? Okay. Good. Where am I? Maureen, you take our food bank donations every single week. Thank you so much. Who helps out with Wednesday morning communion? This is so good. Who helps out with Wednesday morning communion? Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Pretty much everybody who comes along to Wednesday morning communion serves something. So, David, you'd better take a couple. Take one for Diana as well. Who else Wednesday morning communion is there? Okay. All right. Thursday morning, mainly music. So obviously Katrina, Jackie, yeah, Ron and Karen, thank you. Yeah. Oh, and Gareth, sorry, mate. Yeah, you're doing a very important. The youth do the cheers. There's some youth over here too. So, anybody else helps with them, mainly music. So Karen and Rob, Oh, Carolyn, you're on that team, aren't you? Claire as well. I've lost place where I am. Vicky, you're on. You help out with mainly music, don't you? Rachel, Gary and Lynn, Julian, you help out with mainly music too. So you get another one there. Obviously, Jan does, so you can give one to Jan as well. What's it? Yes, Rebecca does. Who's going to look after Rebecca's ones? You're going to look after Rebecca's chocolates for her, and can you look after one for? I can't remember now. Shell, maybe. Okay. Oh, who's on the laundry roster? Vicky, you're on the laundry roster. Thank you. Maureen, you're on the laundry roster. Thank you. Who's on the chair setup team? Well, Julian, you are, and so you get one. And Roy isn't here, so we'll remember him. Our gardeners, so Phil and Margaret. What? Oh. Yeah. Find somebody to swap if you're allergic, or you don't like it. Those who count our money and count our people. And look after the safe. So Ron and Terry and Julian and David. The lawn mowing roster. So David, that's you again. And Matthew is. Oh, you yes, Robert. Yeah, Matthew, you're on that, aren't you? And. Glenn, that's you. Yeah. And who Ray, yes, over there. Sorry. Who have I missed? Have I missed? Oh, lawnmower maintenance. There you go. Awesome. Thank you. Couldn't do that job without you. Okay. Oh, better. Oh, yeah. Well, that's all right. I get to do the overhead projection. Thanks. Okay. Who helps out with the socials supermarket? I mean, obviously, John and Jackie, and I'll put one. Vicky, that's got to be you, and Carolyn, that's got to be you, and Sean, that's you. And yes. Great. Sean, can you give one for your mum? Hey, Campbell, of course. Did I give you one, Vicky, for social supermarket? Yeah, I'm losing track. Campbell, Craig, Vicky, Sue, did I? Okay, is that kind of, are there others? What was that? Oh, yeah, no. But with that, we've not finished the list. Yep, okay. So good. Okay, our pastoral care team. So Lynn and... where I've lost my place. Roger and Anne, where have I lost you? Okay. Roger, thank you. Rosemary, thank you so much. Jenny and Grant, Pat, Gary and Lynn, Ruth and Knox, you're on this list. Claire as well. Thanks, it's good. All right, our small group leaders, I'm going to have to, okay, go. So our small group leaders, so dive your small group leaders in. Mine are Katrina and Gareth, John and Jackie. Yes, you too. Ron and Karen. Yep, Campbell and Katrina, you'd better take one for Katrina. Yeah, sorry. Look, if it broke, you can have another one. Okay. Jan and Phil. Yeah. Can you eat those? Jan will eat them. Do you want something else? Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. He's sitting at the front. He can swap. What about our men's purpose group? So who Who runs that? Who's dobbing people in for that? Mike? And John? John is here, is he? Is he coming back? Okay. Who else leads that group? Oh, you get chocolate. Okay. Who leads your small group? Do you have a small group when you meet? Is it you? Yeah, it's them. It's you. Yeah. Okay, I knew you were there somewhere. All right. Have I missed anyone? I've run around like a flea in a fit. Has anybody small group that has leaders that I've missed? No? Ooh. Men's. Oh, yeah, Mike. I got Mike. Yep. Okay. Our admin team. So Peter's not here, but Vicky is here, and she's going to take. And you've got enough. Yeah. So Vicky's here. You can take one for Peter too, because you volunteered. Yeah. And obviously Tim. Ashley and Murray and Simeon. Obviously, our eldership team. So Katrina, John. Oh, sorry, you just have to have two. David, who's at home with COVID. So please pray for him, and you can take one for David. And Rachel, and so please give one to Rachel for me, and obviously Mike. Got a favourite? You can have a white one. Yeah, I'll try again. Yep, okay. You can have the one that fell down as well. Okay. And obviously our staff team. So Tim, thank you. Margie, thank you. You can take one for Jan, and we'll save a couple for Mel, because she didn't want to miss out. Yeah, women's breakfast, sorry. That was the small group. Sorry, women's breakfast. You can get your chocolate later. If I missed you, I'm really sorry. We do still have some chocolate somewhere. It's probably on the ground. Every member ministers to one another, because every member is uniquely gifted by the Spirit of God. This is what the priesthood of all believers exercising their spiritual gifts looks like at work. And of course, you don't need to be on a roster to use your God-given gifts to build others up. So much of our strengthening, encouraging, and comforting comes at other times in the cut and thrust of daily life. Praying for one another, a listening ear over a cup of tea, or coffee if that's your persuasion, an invitation to a meal, an encouraging email, helping out with different tasks, giving someone a lift, dropping off some baking, a phone call, a hug, a smile. Every member ministers to build one another up, because every member is uniquely gifted by the Spirit of God. So today I do want to just say one more thing about those 180-something names in almost 30 different areas. And some people like Vicky are serving in nearly all 30. But every single one of those spaces has room for more people to contribute, more people to share the gifts that the Spirit has given them, and some of those areas fairly desperately. I do have a final question, and I was considering saying a bit more about prophecy and speaking in tongues and all that kind of thing. That will just have to wait for another sermon. But as we finish, a final question, and you can talk about it with one another or you can ponder it as you go. How has the Spirit gifted you so that God can build others up? And if you aren't sure, maybe you can ask other people who know you what they see in you, the gifts that they see God using in you to build others up. Let's pray. Jesus, I thank you that you came and made a way for us. You are our great high priest, so that we don't need somebody else to intercede for us, that we can come boldly, directly to you. And that in that we have the freedom to bless one another, to build one another up, to intercede for one another, to use the gifts that you have given each of us to build others up, to strengthen, to comfort, to encourage. God, I pray, Spirit of God, breathe on us, breathe through us. Help us as we share what you have given us, your good gifts, to help others. And Lord, we acknowledge you've always got more to give. You've always got more for us to give. Help us to seek your heart. Help us to build others up, to glorify you. Amen. Amen. Thanks for your time. I went longer than I was expecting, but you know why. If you didn't get a chocolate and you would like a chocolate, I've got like one left. I've used up all of Mel's chocolates too. There might be some in the bag, I don't know. If you got one you didn't like, you can swap it with anybody else, that's fine. Have a great week this week. God be with you. Pray that you would hear God speaking to you, you'd know God's presence with you, and that you would experience the Spirit at work as you meet with one another this week. Please stay for tea and coffee, talk about the way God has gifted you. But if I don't see you between now and next week, actually I won't be here next week. And two, if I don't see you over the next 2 weeks, God bless. It's a pre-warning, Sue and I are away for our anniversary next weekend, so pray for good weather. And I'll see you next time I do. God bless.